That second trimester glow. Hey guys, welcome back. So next week we're going to get back to makeup, and more makeup. Back to mostly our regularly scheduled program, but today we're going to do my pregnancy Q&A because I promised you guys that I would. I actually promised that it would come out on Monday, so we pushed it to today, and I got a lot of questions from you guys. Mostly it's like congratulations, so I don't think that it's going to be as big of a task as I thought, and a lot of the questions are really similar, so hopefully you get your question answered and you guys can find out everything that I know so far. First trimester, everything like that. We are just about to hit 15 weeks, so that's where I'm at in case this is all news to you. I am pregnant. I am about to be 15 weeks, and yeah, so I just got a bunch of questions from you guys on Instagram. I really appreciate you guys, as always, participating and engaging with my content and caring enough to even ask me questions. I'm so grateful, so thank you. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into these questions. Okay. Here is one that just kind of knocks everything out right up front. So what is your due date? When will you know the gender? And will there be a gender reveal? So my due date is October 26th. So we're having supposedly a Scorpio if, you know, everything goes to schedule. If it's a little early, we might have a Libra. Not sure yet, but that is the plan. When will you know the gender? And will there be a gender reveal? So we already know the gender. I will tell you guys today, and we're not gonna do a gender reveal. We basically just were too excited and told everybody right up front, like as soon as I got the call from the doctor, I was just like, oh my God, we're having a boy. I mean, biologically speaking, we're having a boy. And it's totally not what we expected at all. I don't know why, even though you know it's 50-50 the whole time. Like, for whatever reason, we just kind of formulated an assumption. Me and Mike were like, thought we were having a girl. And so when I found out that we were having a boy, Mike didn't want to find out at first. And I muscled him over because I was so physically uncomfortable. I was just like, look, give me this, okay? Like, I don't want to keep this a secret for the next however many months. And when I told him that it was a boy, he was like, he's in the backyard, and like all of a sudden he just kind of doubled over and put his hands on his knees and like had to catch his breath. And it was just such an unexpected reaction. I was like, huh. He's like, I just wasn't expecting that. Like, it's almost like he didn't want to know because he thought he already knew that it was a girl and it's a boy. So yeah, we're really excited to have a boy. I am one of 3 people in my generation, 3 girls. So it's me and my sister, and then my cousin who's 3 years younger than I am. So yeah, that's it. In my side of the family, I have 1 first cousin, and then Mike is just him and his brother, and then he's got several cousins and things like that. But on my side of the family, our generation hasn't had a boy since like my parents' generation, and so it's very exciting. This child is going to be spoiled rotten, okay? Like, it just is what it is. But yeah, I'm happy to go ahead and gender reveal to you guys. So the next question is, what were the first signs or symptoms that you noticed? So my first pregnancy, I would say that the hormones hit me a lot harder, and like I knew I was pregnant. I mean, I had a really strong feeling that I was pregnant pretty early on because my boobs started hurting, and like that doesn't ever happen to me even with my period. And it was way earlier in the month than it would have been for PMS or something like that. And so I had a hunch. And then when I got pregnant the second time, it was almost like because it had been so quickly after my miscarriage, the hormones like HCG obviously has to leave your body completely in order for you to have a period again, in order for you to conceive. So it wasn't HCG that was in my body, but it was almost like my body kind of cut ahead of that. And like my boobs didn't start hurting until I was probably like 5 or 6 weeks. And so that's why I was like, there's no way I'm pregnant, you know? And then when I found out that I was like, huh. So the first symptoms that I got from my current pregnancy were, well, the first one was bloating, like so much bloating. Week 5, we went to Palm Springs, and I'm standing there in a bathing suit, and I just thought I was gonna start crying because I knew I wasn't showing, but I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm so bloated. I've been bloated every single day. I finally figured out that, I mean, yes, it's your diet, because in the first trimester, you literally, like, you eat whatever you can stand. The smell of stomaching it, the idea of it, whatever, like, you really don't have a lot of choice unless you're just one of those women who's blessed with having one of those like golden pregnancies where just everything's lovely and it's super easy and you don't have any nausea. But I'm not that person. I had tons and tons of nausea, and so I had a lot of bloating, and then I also just have really bad digestion anyway. And so, I mean, previous to pregnancy, and so when you're pregnant, especially in the first trimester, you're hungry all the time, and so you have to, like, you're advised to eat really often, and eating really often has never been good for me because my digestion needs a break to, like, catch up. And so I've always eaten like 3 squares a day, you know, big breakfast, big lunch, big dinner kind of thing, because I need those hours in between for my digestion to, like, balance back out and catch up, and it just was not getting a chance to do that. So I was just bloated all the time. Now that I'm in the second trimester, I'm finally able to just eat a big breakfast, a big lunch, a snack in the afternoon, and then a good sized dinner and maybe a snack after dinner kind of thing. But you're supposed to get like 300 extra calories a day or something during pregnancy, you know, in order to kind of gain the proper amount of weight. You'll just feel it out. Like, I was super, super starving in my first trimester, and now it's finally, like, I'm so grateful to not just be ravenous all the time. So what is your current favorite ride or die food craving? So I joke that the first trimester is the time where you ruin all the foods that you love, because you think, oh, I'm pregnant, I have the opportunity to, like, you know, eat a little bit more of, like, what I want kind of thing. And man, I went like vanilla ice cream, and then I was like, I never want to see vanilla ice cream again. And then it was this very specific pizza. It's like, I think it's called, I don't know, I think it's like a Connecticut thing, but it's like white clam with lemon. And it was just like my favorite thing. It was like all I wanted, and then I like never want to see that again. And so you do have really specific food cravings that, like, nothing makes you feel good, at least in the first trimester. Like I said, when you eat something, whether it is good for you or bad for you, like, you tend to not feel good either way. So I finally had to just kind of like mind over matter it and eat things that were good for me when I could. But thank goodness, second trimester so far, my cravings are really healthy. I eat a lot of fruit leather. I eat like giant bowls of steamed green beans. Like, that is one of my favorite things at all right now. But I also only want tangy, salty, spicy, like, seasoning. That has been the whole time. Like, I wore myself out on refined sugar in the first trimester. Like, I don't want to see anything sweet. I don't want sweet coffee. I don't want sweet tea. I don't want dessert. I don't want any of it. The thing that has been consistent the entire time is, like, I will drink pickle brine. I will eat pickled jalapenos. I will put hot sauce on anything. I want spicy, and I want tangy. And so, like, anytime I'm like dipping something, I make a lot of sauces. It's like sriracha and soy sauce and mayonnaise kind of thing. You know what I mean? Mixing all that stuff together, or just, like, you know, covering something in chili paste or chili flakes or stuff like that. I want spicy stuff, which is really bad for my heartburn, but, you know, I got some Tagamet. I'm doing okay. I was just chowing down on Tums for a while. Tums are so gross, and you're really not supposed to have that many of them when you're pregnant, and so I realized that a little bit too late, but I got some, like, regular, actually effective heartburn medication that has completely changed my entire existence. Plans for childcare. I'm a full-time working mom. I love it, but childcare has always been hard. So we're gonna feel this out, but I have a feeling that we're probably going to go into, like, very early preschool kind of thing, like a Montessori or something like that, like a preschool oriented, like education oriented daycare. They're pretty expensive, but at the same time, like, weighing it out against both of our careers, it makes a lot more financial sense than me just dropping everything and taking care of kiddo. But you just don't know until you get there. You know, I might be that person who only wants to work like a couple of days a week and then have the kid home, you know, more time or things like that, just like soak up those like baby days that, you know, that you're gonna get in the beginning and things like that. So I'm not totally sure yet, but, like, we're keeping all of our options open. I've talked to a few, like, local preschools and stuff like that, you know, researching their menus and, like, yes, you can use your breast milk for them and things like that. So yeah, I'm kind of leaving my options open at this point, but we are definitely thinking about the potential of childcare. So excited for you. Do you know how you're going to design the nursery yet? So, I mean, I don't know, like, my mom is making us a quilt because my mother, who is an expert knitter, has now moved on to becoming an expert quilter because she's the cutest person in the world. And she and I picked out a bunch of fabrics from some websites so that she could make a baby quilt. And it's kind of in this, like, navy blue and hunter green and kind of like ochre yellow kind of, you know, color palette. Mike is a big fan of everything he owns is blue. And even though that's, like, you know, categorically metaphorically bully baby. And that's not necessarily always, like, that's not our starting point. Blue is still a really calming color, and it's probably going to be one of those like accent wall kind of things, and just keep everything else really airy. But yeah, probably mostly a navy blue, maybe hunter green kind of thing. And then I love just natural textures. I don't think that I'm alone there, you know, I just love like, you know, real wood and rattan and wicker and stuff like that. Has your hair or scalp started to become oilier? Not that I've noticed. In fact, my skin finally restabilized. I was able to use like an actual, like my Iconolab oil again last night, and I was so happy because I put on the moisturizer that I've been using for the whole first trimester. And about an hour later, I noticed my skin was a little bit dry, and I was like, ooh, I can use a real moisturizer. Like my skin is finally figuring itself back out again. But I never experienced anything weird with my hair. I don't know why, other than actually, you know what? I broke out around my hairline, so maybe. Do you feel like this is the right age for you to be starting a family? Absolutely. Yeah, I don't feel like I would have been ready earlier at all. Like, I have friends who started having kids at like 22 or 25 or even like 28. I was a late bloomer in a lot of maturity respects, especially having to do with career, figuring out that the corporate world is not where I belong and that I was never going to be able to be happy there. Being in the career that I was in previously, while I'm very grateful for it, it built a huge skill set that's proven to be really, really helpful in what I do now. And I still consult on the side, but I don't have to be face to face with anybody, which is great. It's like I can edit myself. But as far as that's concerned, you know, Mike and I really took a long time dating before we decided to get married. We started dating at the end of 2012 and we didn't even get engaged until Christmas Eve of 2017. So we were together for 5 years before we got engaged, almost 6 years before we got married, and we got married in 2018. And so it'll be, you know, 2 years after, it'll basically be our 2-year wedding anniversary around then that the baby comes. And so all of that pace just kind of matched up with our lives and our own maturity levels. I feel like Mike and I were still, you know, attending keggers when we were like 25 and 26. It was just not a baby conducive environment. And now I feel like I have created a schedule and an environment where I feel like there is space. There is actually literally space for a kid. You know, it's like, it's going to fit very appropriately into mine and his life. From a financial standpoint, from a time standpoint, from a flexibility standpoint, and from like our own maturity standpoint. For reference, I'm 33, he's 34, you know, we have room to have another one at some point, you know what I mean? Like age-wise, but we'll stick with one for now. But yeah, I definitely think that like this felt absolutely like the right time and we planned for it. What are you most excited about? I am most excited about meeting him. I'm just like so excited because I mean, I'm an Aries and so I'm just super impatient, especially when my symptoms were really bad. I was like, ooh, like when is the baby gonna come? Like I would say that labor is the one thing I'm not dreading because I'm like, finally, this thing is going to be on the outside and I'm going to get to meet him. Like the whole thing for me, from even the inception in my mind of conception, is just that you're making a human and like everything about that is so interesting. But like the whole point is that it's like this unique individual that you've created. And I want to get to know that person. I'm very excited. Like I don't have any delusions that I'm going to be able to mold this child from marble, you know? I want to know like what we have created and I'm just so excited to meet him. Hello, Kackie. Would love to hear your top tips for surviving the first trimester. C-bands, Bongesta, which is a nausea medication that made me very, very sleepy, but it's basically just Unisom and B6. Yes, it makes you tired, but it really, really does help with nausea. Stool softeners. If you don't have constipation, bless you, just thank your lucky stars. But it was probably like, it took me a long time to figure out that that was like the root of most of my issues with constipation. And I don't want to take any kind of stimulants because like cramping bad. Cramping bad, pregnant, like you just don't want cramping when you're pregnant. At least I don't, in my mind. And so you don't want any kind of thing that's going to make you go. You just want something that's going to make it easier to go kind of thing. And so I got some Colace. game changer. And then heartburn medication. Oh my gosh, heartburn will ruin your day all day, every day. It will ruin all the meals that you love. You can get, at least I can. My mom told me this happened to her in pregnancy too. She's like, it's so unfair. I got heartburn from drinking water. I'm like, me too. What is that about? And so yeah, just get an effective heartburn medication. My doctor gave me this big folder in the beginning, like my first appointment. They gave me all the drugs that were okay, that like over-the-counter stuff that I was allowed to use. And so I always consult that first. You're not supposed to take Pepto-Bismol. You're not supposed to take ibuprofen. You're not supposed to take, there's a bunch of different ones. And it was all stuff that I had in my cabinet. So I basically just had to like start from scratch and buy a whole bunch of stuff that was like, you know, safe and on the list. So yeah, I always thought, you know, or hoped at least that I was going to be that woman who didn't have to rely on over-the-counter medications to like survive pregnancy. But unfortunately, I am completely that person. Like I was miserable. I was so miserable. I was so nauseous. I had so much heartburn. I was just so the constipation is the worst part because of gas and everything. Yeah, so just get yourself some doctor approved medicine. Might not be everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people probably have like natural remedies that they want to use and things like that. Do your research, figure out what like works for you, but for me it was the doctor approved medications for all of my digestive issues because oh my god. Oh, good question. Were you nervous about something going wrong in the first trimester? Lots of love to you. Thank you. Yeah, oh my gosh, we were nervous wrecks before and during, all the way up to the 7-week period because that was when I miscarried last time and, you know, you get your hopes up, all the hormones are going and everything. And I mean, you're pregnant, you know, we had an ultrasound, we had a heartbeat and everything like that. And then, you know, to have the cramps start, all the signs, just all the things happen. That was just so traumatizing. And like, you're just every single day during the time period, you know, this pregnancy, like that seven weeks, I was just like, anytime I was like, oh, Mike's like, what? And I was like, it's okay, I'm not cramping. Or I'd be like, ow. And he's like, oh, are you okay? I'm like, it's okay. There's no bleeding, no cramping, no nothing like that. It is, you know, just purely annoyance, you know, muscle strain, just things moving around and being annoying and aching. You just get weird pains. You get like shooting pains in your vagina. You just get like stinging nipples. It's hilarious. But yes, to answer your question, we were nervous wrecks. We like, honestly, I think we celebrated in some way. We cooked some special meal or like went out for pizza or something like that the night that we crossed over into 8 weeks because we were like, plus there was something in me where I just knew because I was so miserable that this one was gonna stick. Like, the first one I had no symptoms, you know, I had achy boobs, but that was about it. But I didn't have any nausea. I didn't have any other kind of typical pregnancy symptoms, even at 7 weeks. And this time it was like, oh my God, everything was firing on all cylinders. I was absolutely miserable. And I was like, it's a really good sign. The pregnancy's on track. Everything's going full tilt. But like, you know, it's bittersweet because you're like, I'm miserable, but that means that the pregnancy's on track. And so there was kind of a little bit of that for me where I was just like, at least the misery is a sign that I'm still having a healthy pregnancy. Doubts if having a baby is the right thing given that the world is such a crazy place. I would like to think that we are going to be the kinds of parents that will help to groom a very good man when he grows up. So I would hope that, you know, anything that we can contribute to the world is something positive. And, you know, yes, there's something to be said for reduce, reuse, recycle, I guess. You know, but I don't think that like we should voluntarily die off as a race as a result of the fact that everything is not ideal at the moment. I would rather make somebody who might be able to become a biochemist and solve something, you know, big in this world, than to just kind of be like, meh, you know, everything's terrible. I'm not going to procreate. I don't know. I might be overly optimistic, but I hope that we're going to make a really, really good adult. Okay, so did you know before you took your pregnancy test? No, this time it was so surprising. Like I said, during the first pregnancy, I had a ton of like achy boobs and things like that where I was like, I kind of think I might be pregnant kind of thing. And when I found out, I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, you get that like positive pregnancy test. And it's just, it's a crazy feeling. But the second time, I don't know, man. Like, I have always charted my cycle using this thing called a Lady Comp. It's a very expensive little computer that you use to take your temperature in your mouth every morning. And it tells you when you're, it tells you when you're not fertile. The idea being birth control, like, you know, birth control, like prevention being your priority at certain points in your life kind of thing. But because I had mapped it for so long, it does have like a little blinking light when it thinks that you are ovulating each month. And so I knew I was ovulating like, I think just day like 17 or something. And I kind of mapped it out, and we would try on day 13 and day 15. And so I knew we had nailed the dates, but I did not feel pregnant. And so right before my period was about to start, it was like day 27, I just had a wild feeling, and I just like went to Target and I bought a couple pregnancy tests, and I took one, and I was actually by myself at home, and Mike was at work, and man, when that second line showed up, I was like, oh my God, it's so crazy. I was like, I don't feel pregnant at all. And boy, it avalanched on me a few days later. But when Mike got home, the way that I told him was, I was like, so, want to see the funniest thing I've seen all day? And I showed him, and of course, Mike has always wanted a baby. We'll get into that. There's another question about that in a minute, but just the look on, he was so happy, and he was so surprised. And yeah, so that's how I found out the second time. It was purely because of the test, and just because I was like, might as well find out, you know? But I was not expecting that at all. Okay, yes, so why did you want kids? So this is actually a really, like a long question for me, because for most of my life I didn't. And that is because of like my own personal upbringing. Obviously, you guys know that my mother is incredible. The other half of that situation is a little touch and go. And I just always thought to myself, my whole life, not just having to do with relationships, but I always felt like at the end of the day I was on my own, you know? And that was how I had just like, that's how my upbringing had affected me. I really thought that the only person that I was ever going to be able to count on for anything was myself. And even in a relationship, it was really hard for me to like let go of that and really I guess trust is the issue. Like trust the other person that they were gonna like stick around, I guess. And so when I was, you know, even when Mike and I were first dating, I was like, I don't want kids. And I broke his heart, because it's all he just wants kids so bad. He loves kids. I mean, you should see him, anybody's kids. He's just like, he is a kid. Let's be real. You know, over time, I went to therapy about it. I was just like, I don't know what to, like, I know in my heart that this is the product of a mental pathway that no longer serves me. I know that this is some kind of jaded situation where I've developed a defense mechanism in my heart to keep myself from getting hurt for something that isn't really a threat anymore. And I want to better understand that. I have a fantastic therapist. I haven't seen her in a long time, but she really, really helped me work through a lot of stuff. And the biggest thing was just, you know, and even my mother, like quoting my mother, she's like, Michael's not your father. Mike is not your father. And like just understanding that this is a person who loves me, and he's gonna stick around, and he's open to communication, and he's the kind of person who's like an equal, if not like more compensatory partner, especially the way that I've been like completely useless during pregnancy. He's really, really stepped up. And just knowing that I had the confidence in our relationship that I always said, I don't want a baby badly enough that I would do it by myself, you know? And there are people who do, and that's totally fine. Anderson Cooper just had a baby. Like, he had a surrogate, and he's like, you know, the father of a baby now. Like, it's awesome. I think everybody should do, you know, the baby thing the way that it works for them. But for me, it was always just something where I was like, I don't want this to be something that I'm doing alone. And just letting go, stop looking for a trap door, stop keeping one foot out the door in terms of like how I thought about my relationships, and like, you know, recognizing the fact that I did kind of always think that way. That was when I decided, like, I want to get married, you know, like I'm ready to get married. I didn't even want to commit to like getting engaged or getting married or anything like that if I felt like I still didn't know whether I wanted to have kids, because I was not going to like deny Mike that. And so knowing, like going through all the therapy and everything like that, and realizing like the reason that I didn't want to have kids was because I was too afraid of someone leaving me. And that, you know, I just have to take it in baby steps and like, you know, place my trust in him. It made me really, really excited. Plus, he's just going to be such a good dad. So really, really excited now, you know. Also, like, you know, the previous question asked, like, I feel like we're at the right time. I feel like I'm the right age. I'm the maturity level now. And my mom is such a good mom, I feel like, and he has such a good set of parents that, like, we have the instincts to, I feel like, you know, do the research and just try our hardest to be really, really good parents. I'm really excited about that step in our lives. Plus, I don't know, I was getting to a point in my life where I felt like there was a step. Like, there was a step that I needed to take. Like, everything was feeling a little too easy, I guess. Does that make sense? I don't know. It feels like the appropriate time in our lives. Was it a tough transition to start sleeping on your back? If so, any tips? I actually think that you're supposed to sleep on your side as pregnancy goes forward. I'm a back sleeper anyway. My husband makes fun of me because I sleep like a sarcophagus. I'm like, you know, just like pull the blanket up and then have a pillow over my face. I'm like basically completely undetectable. Like, I look like a made bed when I'm sleeping. Anyway, but I did get a gigantic body pillow. My mom got me that for my birthday, and so that's been helping me like try to sleep on my side, but sleeping on my side's been a harder adjustment. Parenting style versus Mike's style. Like I said, Mike's a kid. I am so excited that he's going to be the kind of dad that will play horsey with a kid all day long if they want to. He has infinite patience for playtime and infinite patience for whatever the kid finds amusing. He's good with discipline, but I am far more consistent. We've just learned this with the dog. Mike is definitely, especially if we had, oh my God, if it had been a girl, he would have had absolutely no willpower whatsoever. He's just kind of a pushover. His love takes over and he's just like, oh, I can give them what they want. But he promises me that it's going to be a lot more disciplinarian when it comes to the kid. You know, the dog gets to stand on tables and yell at people because it's funny, but you know, a kid doing that isn't funny. And so, yeah, I think that, you know, we have had a lot of discussions about being a united force, and that in front of the kid, we're going to do our best not to undermine one another. You know, if we disagree with kind of what another parent says or something like that, to at least in that moment look like we agree, and we can kind of discuss it, like take a sidebar. But yeah, I mean, it's something that we definitely talk about a lot. I'm just glad that he has so much energy to play with a kid, because I'm definitely going to be the one that's like more like planning and probably just running around being like, no, don't, you know, that's sharp, like that kind of thing. So yeah, stop stomping on my crepe myrtles. How has your cooking and food preferences changed? I will say, like, I mean, aside from all the like the flavor preferences, the main thing is that like a couple of times Mike has like sous vide'd like a steak or like a lamb chop or something. I'll eat it, but like I don't like it. Like, you know, right now we're on lockdown. You eat what's there. You figure it out, even if it's not like the exact thing that you're craving at that moment. And of course, those are very expensive cuts of meat. And so, you know, you make it work. My body needs iron, whatever. But I definitely like, I don't want meat right now. I don't want red meat. I don't really want chicken. The only good thing though is just that my body does digest chicken better. It digests meat better than it does like super fibrous vegetable sources of protein. That's just, again, I have really weak digestion. And so like, you know, I've been eating a lot of beans and stuff, but I have to take like a companion Tagament with it and things like that, just to make sure that I'm not miserable afterwards. But I would say that like I've been really craving mostly like very, very nutrient dense like vegetable dishes. And I did do a what I eat in a day vlog. I haven't edited it yet, but that should go up next week on my vlog channel. How is pregnancy after a miscarriage? I'm worried to try again. I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but like, don't worry. You're super, like, this is what the doctors told me, you're very fertile after you've miscarried. And my mom was also reassuring about this too. She said, you've basically created a little habitat that's like ready for a baby. If you can like nail the timing on your next couple of cycles or whatever, your body is like basically already ready. And so the reason that a miscarriage happens has nothing to do with anything that you did. It is, you know, usually a chromosomal kind of disagreement in the womb. And for me, I felt like it was also, I mean, this is just me like having a hunch, but it did feel like the hormones weren't really building up quickly enough for me, and because they definitely built up quickly enough this time, and I felt what that felt like. This is purely a theory. I'm not a doctor, but what it feels like is I've had a period for 20 years. And like, it's basically like a starter pack, right, for pregnancy, and I've never used the starter pack. And so here I am, I just go, by the way, body, we're gonna use the starter pack this month, and it goes, oh, okay, we're gonna do the best we can. You kind of hadn't used this in a while. I kind of put it on the back burner. I'm not sure if we have everything that we need. And then it just didn't have everything that it needed. And then the next month it was like, all right, we're ready. We got everything. I packed you an extra large lunch. Everything's gonna be good. We're good to go. And that's just how I thought about it. And so I think that even though miscarriage is so devastating. Like, obviously there are lots of ways that it can go badly, but I don't want to diminish anyone else's experience by saying like, go ahead, you know, just, you know, hit it the next go around. You are really, really like primed for it, and there's just a much more higher statistical likelihood of having a healthy pregnancy after a miscarriage. oddly enough. And that's just according to my doctors, you know, the emergency room doctors that I went to and my personal doctor, things like that. How long did it take to get pregnant after your miscarriage? So I miscarried December 20th and we were pregnant by the way that pregnancy is calculated by the first day of your last period by January 20th, which is, I know, that's weird. We didn't find out until like February 16th. The way that pregnancy is calculated is that like, even though you weren't technically pregnant, it's just how they track it. It's the easiest way to track it. That's why you're technically pregnant for 40 weeks instead of 9 months, is just because they go by your cycle. And so the beginning of my cycle was January 20th. I got pregnant the first time November 1st and was pregnant for 7 weeks. And then, you know, miscarried on December 20th. And then I just basically waited for my next cycle. Day 13, day 15, we tried. Boom. By day 27, we were pregnant again. I know that so many people have so much trouble, and I just want to extend all of the sympathy that I possibly can. I don't take lightly the fact that even though I did have a miscarriage, I am very fertile, apparently. I'm apparently very, very fertile because like literally I was on birth control for 13 years. I got off of it. My body snapped right back to a 28-day cycle. Immediately, I was shocked at how just the intelligence just locked right back in. And then, you know, I've been off of any kind of hormonal birth control since I was about 26, 7 years, something like that. And so the fact that like my cycle was consistent enough that I could predict when I was fertile and things like that, just, I don't know, I consider it a blessing. Have you experienced morning sickness? If so, what was it like for you? It was not morning sickness. It was all day, everyday sickness. It was 24 hours a day sickness. Sleep was the only relief. And it's finally gone away. But I do highly recommend and wish I had found earlier C-bands, the little acupressure ones that I've been talking about in pretty much every video that my viewer Erin turned me on to. They're amazing. They're drug-free, no side effects. $7 on Amazon, totally awesome. What prenatal vitamins are you taking? So I started by taking Ritual. Those things make me soups nauseous. And someone told me that it's because they have iron in them, and if you don't need iron, which I have never been iron deficient, which is hilarious because I bruise really easily, but I'm definitely not anemic, that iron can actually like exacerbate nausea. And so I then went, and I also don't love that they taste really fishy. They are, I think, vegan, but it's like a seaweed that makes them taste fishy. And so like it would literally be like 8 hours later and I would burp. Like it would be like close to the time I was going to bed and I would burp and I could taste seaweed. And I was just like, this is not gonna fly, fam. Like this is nasty. And so I went online and I just basically, like one of you guys said, like, maybe try cutting iron out of your supplement. And I was like, okay. And so I searched iron-free prenatal vitamins or whatever. And the ones that came up were the, what are they called? I'll put them on the screen. They're the Alicia Silverstone ones that are like organic and whole food, berry-based and everything like that. By the way, guys, I know that I follow a lot of really hippy-dippy people when it comes to pregnancy, and I am pretty hippy-dippy. I just want to say, even though, like, you know, the people that I follow, a lot of them are, like, anti-vax. I'm pretty sure that, like, Alicia Silverstone is anti-vax. I'm gonna vaccinate my kid, don't worry. Just want to reassure everybody. No one asked, I just thought you might want to know. And they're gummies and they taste great. And I put it on my Instagram. I was like, please don't tell me these aren't good for me for some reason, because this is the first thing that I've been able to keep down and they're really delicious. And they don't have DHA in them, but I am supplementing with a DHA as well. But you guys all messaged me, like unanimously, it was like, girl, whatever you can keep down, you know? I was like, God bless all these mothers in my comments and in my DMs, just being like, best you can do, just do the best you can do, girl. Like, you guys get it, it's awesome. I heard gluten intolerances can go away during pregnancy. Has it changed for you? I do not have the guts to test that. I've already been so sick and basically had every bloating symptom that I ever had when I was eating gluten. And so oh boy, that's just not something that I'm willing to, like, as the doctor says, challenge myself on. How are you staying active and what is working for you? So the only thing that I can really do right now is prenatal yoga. I've been using the Prenatal Down Dog app. I mentioned that in my favorites. Highly recommend. It's just my pace. Did you do anything different with checkups this time? Recent miscarriage and nervous and scared to try again. We were really, really weird. I totally understand where you're coming from. Like we were like, we're not gonna go to the doctor until 12 weeks because we had gotten a transvaginal ultrasound and then the next day I miscarried. And so like in our minds, we were just like, oh, that caused it, but like absolutely not the case. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's just like you wanna blame it on something. You wanna feel like you have control. But because I got so nauseous this time around, I went to my first appointment at 8 weeks and they were very glad that I did, because I forget how she kind of worded it. I really, really like my practitioners, but the way that she said it was like, your hormones peak at 10 weeks. And so if you were to have come in at 12 weeks, we would, like, you'd already be done with certain, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't like really grasp it. It probably makes sense to some of you guys more than me, but the way she made it sound like you don't have, there's no reason necessarily to like come in before 12 weeks unless you just kind of want to get the ultrasound, make sure everything's okay, blah, blah. Like there's no problem with not coming in before 12 weeks, but I came in at 8 weeks because I was so nauseous. I was like, please help me, please do something. And that was when they wrote me the prescription for Bonjesta, which Bonjesta is, like I said, it's Unisom and B6, but it has little pregnant ladies printed on every pill. It's a hilarious little drug. It's so funny. But anyway, yeah, we did go differently this time. We were just a little bit more cautious, but at the same time, like I said, my body was sending me so many pregnancy signals that to me, it was just kind of loud and clear, like this one's gonna take. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm only 15 weeks, you know? Just hope for the best. So happy for y'all. Sending love your way. Any trying to conceive tips, trying to conceive mental health tips. Absolutely go watch Femhead. She has a lot of videos on this that are all about kind of trying to curb the insanity that starts to come with like trying to conceive and not conceiving month after month after month kind of thing. You will find so much solace and empathy in her videos. Like she tells you like exactly how crazy she got. And I will say we are privileged. We are so lucky and blessed in the fact that we didn't have any trouble. I tried for 3 months. The 3rd month I had my first pregnancy, and it was basically just nailing down which day in my cycle it was. Like we went a little too late and then a little too early, and then we nailed it on the 3rd month, and then then we had the miscarriage, but we knew at that point like that was the day to try. And so we've been really, really lucky. Like all told, it took us like 4 months to get pregnant. So I don't consider myself someone who has had a lot of struggles in that respect, but definitely go to Femhead's channel. I will link her below. Opinion on chemical sunscreen during pregnancy. Tons of mixed messages when I Google. I'm pretty sure that those concerns are only with oxybenzone. I don't use anything with oxybenzone in it, so I would suggest if you're concerned about that, just avoid oxybenzone. It's pretty easy to avoid. Have you started nesting and does baby have their own room? Congratulations. The baby will have his own room. He's gonna sleep in our room for a while, obviously like bassinet style and everything, but maybe that's not obvious. I have no idea, but we do have a room set aside. This house was way too big when we bought it. Like, I was just like, sure, give me all the bedrooms. And so we do have like basically Mike's office, which is just a desk in it. And so he has been working in there since he's been working from home, but we'll just make some adjustments. There's plenty of room, but no, we haven't started on anything. I think it's just because I can't get anywhere, you know, like I'll probably order like Claire paint, so I don't have to go to the store and get it. And Claire does such a good, like that's where this paint job is from. But other than that, like, I don't know, I kind of want to like go and see stuff, and you can't really go see anything right now. Are you thinking of unusual/unique names or classic biblical family names? I've always been on either extreme, wanting to name a future son either something like Phoenix or Elijah. I have no in between. This is a great question to kind of culminate on. So the thing that we found out doing a lot of baby name research was just that everybody's trying to be really, really different right now. And somehow all of that effort to be different has like by, statistical, like the list of popular baby names, it appears that most people are kind of arriving in the same places regardless. Like the names that are really popular are all kind of like a little bit alternative and off the wall and stuff like that. So we were like, well, I guess to be different, we'll just go traditional. So we haven't decided on a name yet. Boy names are kind of hard, I feel like, but we are gonna probably go for something that is more traditional, more, not necessarily a family name. We just don't have that many great male family names. I don't know, we have a few good ones, but like none of them that just steal my heart. I do have my heart set on one name. Mike still remains to be convinced, but that is the name that I tend to refer to baby as in my own heart and when I talk about him. But I will not reveal that right now, just because, well, I mean, it's sacred, but also, I don't know, I want to have something that's a surprise. You guys know almost everything that I know at this point. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that was on my list. Thank you guys for sending me these questions. I'm just really glad to be able to share this with you guys and to have you guys be so curious and congratulatory. I really want to thank you guys too, because literally I was like sifting through the messages and I would say like 60% of them were just people being like, I don't have a question, just congratulations. congratulations. We're praying for you. You know, best wishes for you and Mike. We're so happy for you, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, you guys are incredible. Like the fact that you take the time out of your day to say something nice to me, it's incredible. I absolutely never take it for granted. You guys are so, so wonderful. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of this community and for giving me people to share all of this awesome stuff with. So yeah, good luck to all the women who are kind of struggling either from like a mental health standpoint of like, you know, the anxiety around miscarriage or things like that, or just trying to conceive and things like that. My heart absolutely goes out to you. And like I said, I don't take for granted at all the fact that I feel like even though we did have a miscarriage, we did come by this pregnancy relatively easily. So yeah, I just want to say that I don't ever want to seem ungrateful. We are so, so grateful and we are so excited. So thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy this, do give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to keep hanging out with me on this channel, hit the button down below and subscribe. Like I said, you know, there will be more baby content, but like next week we're going to go into makeup. I have like seriously like a backlog of things that I need to show you guys. So yeah, that's going to be, you know, makeup next week. But if you guys have any like baby specific content requests, I don't know, put those in the comments, let me know. And thank you guys so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love you so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.